Internet, Eric here. Today we have an Is It Worth the Hype video. If you don't know, or you're new to my channel, Is It Worth the Hype is a playlist I've created where I've never seen a film from beginning to end that is universally praised. Either critics love it, fans love it, huge box office returns. For some reason I've never seen it from beginning to end, or I've never seen it at all, or I saw it maybe 15 years ago and I don't remember jack shit. Film today we're talking about I have never seen ever. So today, I watched it yesterday, but today we're going to discuss, is Jaws worth the hype? Now, again, if you're new to my channel, welcome. I do discuss plot spoilers, specific scenes, and what have you. And with Is It Worth the Hype, I do a little bit of research to just find out what the big deal about this film is. This is according to Wikipedia, so take it as it is, or take it however you want. The budget of Jaws. Jaws came out in '75. It was directed by Steven Spielberg. Stars Richard Dreyfuss and Roy Scheider, Robert Shaw. According to Wikipedia, it had a budget of $9 million, and it had a total box office return, domestic and worldwide, coming in at $470.7 million. So a huge, huge hit. Nominated for Best Picture that year, and it lost to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Originally was on AFI's Greatest 100 Films of All Time at number 48, and then when they brought that list back at 10-year anniversary or 15-year anniversary, it dropped down to number 56. That's still pretty damn good. Rotten Tomatoes, which I don't give a shit about, 97%, yeah, some people do though, 97% approval rating with the critics and 90% approval rating with the audience. Basic plot is we're in the town of Amity, which is like a oceanside town, seaside town, whatever you would have it, and all the revenue comes in from, you know, summer months. All the people come there to party and what have you. During one of these parties, especially around 4th of July weekend, and this is why I'm doing this. My buddy Roger over at Channel Don Star said it would be the perfect time to sit down and actually watch Jaws and talk about it. It's 4th of July weekend. A young girl is swimming out in the ocean. She's attacked and killed by a shark. Roy Scheider plays Chief Brody. Finds out about this, brings in marine biologist Richard Dreyfuss. Find out it is a shark. And eventually they hire Robert Shaw, who is a known shark hunter. They get together to hunt down Jaws the shark. Wow. This movie made a lot of people apparently afraid to go in the ocean, and I can see why. This movie was fantastic. Steven Spielberg, this was before E.T., this was before Close Encounters, Indiana Jones, all that stuff, and he didn't do a lot before this, but he showed he was a director to pay attention to, and I'll get to that. We'll get to the characters first. Roy Scheider is a very likable police chief. I love his chemistry with his wife, with his children. He shows that he really cares about them, really loves them, really wants them to be safe. He really cares about a lot of the people in town, but he's afraid of the water. So I love how, I mean, it's a minor plot thing, minor plot device that he's afraid of the water. I don't think they explain why. But they show how he's afraid of the water when there's some shark attacks happening. He runs right to the edge of the beach and he's yelling people to get in during all the chaos. But he's very likable. He's a good character to follow. My favorite character, a lot of people, well, we'll talk about Richard Shaw. A lot of people love Richard Shaw because he's just this grizzly old shark hunter, this sailor. He's like kind of a badass. He's an asshole, but he's a likable asshole, and I do like him a lot. He's this grumpy old man, but he makes Richard Dreyfuss hate him because they just butt heads. It's his way or the highway type of deal. But he's a likable asshole. He's doing his job. He's hired to take down this shark because he knows what he's doing. Because I love the scene where they finally hire Robert Shaw. Quint is his character name, and they're in his shop, and there's nothing but like shark jaws, you know, all over his walls as trophies and stuff like that. So you really do know that this guy isn't just talking out of his ass, because there's a really great scene that's been parodied many times. City Council is talking about what to do, and they're all in chaos, and you just hear this screech, and you see this hand going down a chalkboard, It's Robert Shaw getting everybody's attention, saying, I think he says, what, $10,000 is his fee. And he says, with that, you get the head, the fish, the whole damn thing, which is a great line. And I love how it was parodied in Jason Goes to Hell by Creighton Duke. Great, great character. My favorite character, though, is Richard Dreyfuss. I said he's the marine biologist. He comes in, and he's super likable once you first meet him. And you tell he really cares. He's really worried. It's a believable performance. He's really worried that there is this gigantic great white shark there, especially after he sees like the victim from the very beginning. Very likable. He's fun in parts. I love. There's a brief scene where Robert Shaw's pissing him the fuck off, and then Robert walks away, and he's just making funny faces at him, stretching his mouth out, and it's a fun scene. He hates Robert Shaw, but then he's stuck with him because they're in the middle of nowhere in the boat. Favorite character in the whole movie. And then those are the main ones we follow, other than we have a villain that's not really a villain. He's the mayor. I think he's the mayor. And he's the one that's butting heads with, mainly with Chief Brody, and also Richard Dreyfuss. They want to shut down the ocean or whatever. The beach. They want to shut down the beach because of these shark attacks. And he's thinking that he's a politician. He wants the money. He's like, well, you shut down the beach. We're not getting any money in through these summer months, and the town will suffer, and blah blah blah. And it's 4th of July, and that's where everybody's coming over on on the boats and everything. So he's a rotten man, but you see his point of view. But he knows these people have been attacked. Because I'll get to it. So it's a really good butting heads type of dynamic, and you believe this guy. Like I said, he's an asshole because he's a politician. You already don't like him, and it makes you you seem like he just wants the money at the expense of some danger. But then he's also like, what? His point of view is we need money from this revenue. So really good. Wow. Let's talk about Spielberg and the way he shoots this. There's a couple really awesome shots here, man. My favorite, I got two specific camera shots that I absolutely love in this film. The first shot I really love, and I noticed, and I'm like, that's a badass shot, is after they've met with Robert Shaw. They're getting all their shit together. They're leaving his shack or whatever, and they're getting all the shit put on his boat. And it's this fantastic shot. Like I said, he's got shark jaws all over his room or whatever as trophies, and he's got one hanging over this window. And we got this camera shot through the jaws to the boat outside where we're going to go. So it's kind of like some foreboding, or what do you call it? Fuck if I know. Foreshadowing of what is to possibly come. Great shot. And then there's another shot that I love. It's just Richard Dreyfuss and it's Roy Scheider, and they're investigating the waters because there's a scene where a shark is caught, and Richard doesn't think that it's Jaws. So they're out and they're investigating the waters because they do this really cool autopsy on the shark that was caught. They realize that, okay, this isn't the shark, we got to go out in the waters now. And there's this little funny line where Roy Scheider says, I'm not drunk to go, and then Dreyfuss says, yes you are, and he gets him drunk, and they get on the boat. And there's this really cool scene. They find this boat because someone is attacked earlier on, and a bounty is put out on this shark. So everybody from everywhere is out there hunting the shark. And you got the rednecks, the hillbillies, and the so-called experts, and blah, blah, blah. And Richard Dreyfuss knows that this shark is territorial, so it's going to stay in this area because of, food. So they find this boat, and one of the best shots it's from behind the boat, the abandoned boat that they see, and there's this panning shot, behind the boat, and then we're looking at Roy Scheider's boat and Richard Dreyfuss's boat, and you see just the side of the boat, and then suddenly you see this big chunk taken out. And it's very, you got to pay attention to notice if there's this big bite mark in it, and then we just get the rest of the boat. No mention of it ever, but you got to pay attention. Fantastic shot. Spielberg knows what he wants, and he proved it here. What's great, and then we'll talk about Jaws. You don't see the fucking shark until like maybe an hour into the film. And a lot of it is because apparently Spielberg said the shark didn't work. For whatever reasons. But what's great is you don't see the shark for the first hour, but we're introduced into it right away. We get that classic POV shot of it swimming through the waters. We get some, that iconic scene, the girl skinny dipping in the beginning, where she's underwater and you see her legs kicking, and then she gets that one tug. She's pulled underwater. She's dragged all around. You've seen it parodied millions of times, but here, I thought it was going to be over the top. It was not. She's screaming. You believe her when she screams for help and this and that, and then she's just gone, and then that's it. You're introduced to a presence. You're introduced to your monster. And you don't know what a shark looks like, but you don't really know how big it is. And that is great. And then when we finally see it, when there's that iconic shot of Roy Scheider throwing the chum in the water, and it pops out, and he does we're going to need a bigger boat line, he's scared shitless, you get that, holy shit, this is what they have to deal with. And then Spielberg has some over-the-top shots of the shark, and you get to see how fucking big this thing is. And Robert Shaw says it's 25 feet, like, I don't know how many tons, 3 tons maybe. And you're like, these guys are fucked because they're in the middle of nowhere. You can't see the island in the background. They are screwed. There's nowhere to go. They can turn around and go home, but where are they going to go? And that's great. I love it. And then the classic John Williams score. The dun dun dun, it builds up and builds up, and something's going to happen, but you don't know what. You don't know who's going to get it when, because it's kind of a long score, and it's a great tension-building score, complete with the POV shots of the shark, seeing the people under the water. Spielberg and John Williams, from Star Wars and Indiana Jones. They have a beautiful marriage now after all these years, and this is their first date, I think. He might have done one before that, but this was the consummation of the marriage, and it was wonderful. I love this score because it's used perfectly. We'll talk about tension building. One of my favorite scenes is the second attack on a person. You kind of know who's going to get attacked when the scene starts. But you see this little boy go on an inflatable raft, and he goes out to the ocean. Roy Scheider's watching him. But then you see, and it's cut perfectly, and then his attention turns to this fat lady floating on her back, and he sees something behind her, and it ends up being an old man swimming under her. And then it cuts to everyone else getting up. You're seeing Scheider's profile, and everyone else is getting up and running out to the beach. And there's shots of everyone doing everything, and it's fantastic. And you don't know really who's going to get it. And then when you see who gets it, and kind of put 2 and 2 together with what I'm saying is, nobody's safe in this film, and that really makes the terror really, really work. Nobody is safe. I mentioned that in my feast reviews, how no one is safe, but that's done in a more comical way. This is done brutal. It's only rated PG. There was no PG-13 rating when this came out. What did I say? 75, because I think that came out in 84 with Gremlins and Temple of Doom. The gore here is borderline PG-13. We have some good blood coming out, of the water, and it looks more brutal when it's mixed with blood. We have some severed limbs, some legs and some other body parts, which is a great scene with that other body part, I will say. Great scare. I'm sure everybody's fucking seen this but me. There's 3 guys in this film that we follow. Not all of them survive. When one of the people does not survive, it is a brutal scene. It is painful to watch. It is intense. It is scary. It is bloody, and again mixed with the water. You know, the fear of drowning. You got the shark. There's a POV cam of the shark going after this person. It's intense and it's scary as hell, and I loved it. The scene where Richard Dreyfuss is in the shark cage and the shark is breaking through. That's filmed fantastic, and I guess there's real... And that kid running up and down. There's real shark footage edited into this film. It's so good, so intense. And then you got the final scene that everybody's seen, where it's Scheider versus Jaws, and he's trapped on like the sinking boat, and he's trying to stab it with a harpoon. And then, of course, he's got the iconic, you know, scene with him in the shotgun. That's all I'll say. Mixed with John Williams' score, and it's great. But what I also love about this score is it's not just intense. There's a scene where they hit Jaws with like these little harpoons, and they're tied to these gigantic buckets, drums, whatever that stay afloat, and they're chasing Jaws. And it's a really intense scene. They're chasing Jaws. They're following the buoys or buckets or tubs or whatever the fuck they're called. And it's like an upbeat theme. It's like an adventure theme. And it's a fun change of pace to the intensity. And speaking of fun change of pace, everyone talks about this scene where after they first saw Jaws and they just nearly shit their pants. They're downstairs at nighttime and they're getting drunk because of what they just saw. And it's great because Robert Shaw is talking to Richard Dreyfuss, and Roy Scheider's kind of in the background. You know, Richard Dreyfuss does not like Robert Shaw at all. And they're comparing scars, you know, from different, you know, accidents that they've had, which was parodied in Chasing Amy when Banky and what the fuck is her name? Toiler and Adams are comparing sexual scars. It's a great, fun scene, and they're singing together. And then it gets into the seriousness because he talks about the USS Indianapolis that he was on. And it's a good change of pace. It gets from, you know, fun to serious and this and that. But another scene that's great. So I babbled on enough. Jaws, is it worth the hype? Hell yes. So much fun. The pacing is fantastic. This is 2 hours and 4 minutes long. Nowadays, like superhero films, always have to be 2 hours and 20 minutes, and lots of times the pacing lags. There is no lag in this film at all. I'm always entertained. There's nothing wrong with this film. Pace-wise, it's fantastic. Is Jaws worth the hype? Absolutely. If you have not seen this for some reason, if you're just like me, and you just now saw, and you want to see this, and for some reason you haven't, go out there, watch it right now. Fantastic film. It's now up there with one of my favorite Spielberg films. One of my favorite Spielberg films was Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. This is at least equal to it right now. It's above E.T. for me because E.T. was like my number 2. This knocks it out. Jaws, highly, highly recommended. 100% worth the hype. Roger, thank you for getting me off my butt and telling me I have to do it for July 4th because it's fantastic. So that's it. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Share the videos. Share my channel. Click the bell so you get a notification when I do a new video. Or don't. Comment below. Send me any type of comments. I don't know how to end this fucking video. But definitely go and see Jaws if you haven't seen it. And if you have, go watch it again. Because it's fantastic. Love this film. Love it, love it, love it. So in the end, I will say cheers and smile, you son of a bitch.